Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. A lot has transpired and come out today, this afternoon, kind of brought to the forefront in the wake of Charlie Kirk's assassination, including more details about this assassin. Sorry, legal says I have to say alleged assassin. About this murderer. The topic of hate speech has now come up by our very own administration. And I want to get into, I want to touch on all of these things. And then later in the show, I want to talk about the left's fascination with murder and how they fetishize criminals and murderers and gang members. And the list goes on. But I want to go through what we know now, the latest, about the man who decided that Charlie Kirk needed to die for his beliefs. They filed formal charges today against Tyler Robinson, aggravated murder. They are seeking the death penalty. And by the way, Utah has a firing squad for that. So if justice is to be done, which I don't know, I'd still advocate for something more painful somehow. But if justice is to be done, this guy could potentially receive death penalty by firing squad. And it couldn't happen to a more deserving person. So prosecutors today in their press conference also revealed that this man left a note under his keyboard saying that he planned to kill Charlie and confessed after the shooting. And they also went through, there's a full and complete transcription of the text messages that they have between Tyler Robinson, the suspect, and they're calling him the roommate. I don't know why we're continuing to just call him a roommate. They very clearly have said that this was his trans lover. I know. The left continues to try to push the narrative online that this was a MAGA guy that killed Charlie Kirk. He killed Charlie Kirk because his beliefs weren't conservative enough. That is just not the case. And it is my hope that these people develop more than two brain cells to rub together and actually look at the evidence that is coming out. Because this guy was highly indoctrinated by left-wing radical ideology, and he had a trans lover who was transitioning into a female. And so here are some of these text messages between him and not his roommate, his boyfriend. I get they're taking extra steps to just be boyfriends. Like, you're gay, you have a boyfriend, just have a boyfriend. I don't know where we're taking extra steps with the trans thing. But here is the text message conversation that came up in the press conference today between Robinson and his trans lover.
After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right?" Robinson: "I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Roommate: "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson: I am. I'm sorry." Roommate: "I thought they caught the person." Robinson: "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering." Roommate: "Why?" Robinson: "Why did I do it?" Roommate: "Yeah." Robinson: "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence." Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on.
Dumbass.
I haven't seen anything about them finding it. Roommate: "How long have you been planning this?" Robinson: "A bit over a week, I believe."
some hate just can't be negotiated out. Now, I will assign words and the responsibility of those words to this man only. However, he did learn it from somewhere, because in the full transcription, he reminds us all that his family are a bunch of Republicans. His dad, he says, is very MAGA. So he learned it somewhere other than the home, other than the family. Where is this ideology? Where is this hatred being learned is what I'd like to hear more of. And I want to play, of course, FBI Director Kash Patel was testifying in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee today. And really what I want to know, what I hope that they get to the bottom of is there's blame to be shared when it comes to all of the communist ideology being spread in this country to the younger generation. Obviously, it's being done on college campuses, in some cases high schools, in some cases student groups, but there is a lot that's being done online. There is a lot that is happening online. And before I play this clip, I have to stress this. I can't stress this enough. I say this all the time. If you are letting your young, impressionable children, if you are handing them a device that has access to the outside world on it, you are putting this left-wing ideology in front of them. This guy was all involved in Discord servers and gaming communities and all of the places that have very clear histories of including people who are out to radicalize your children. So remember, as we're talking about this, now I realize this guy was 22 years old, and if his parents hid it from him, if his parents didn't give it to him, and he only got it when he was 18, I understand they can't do anything about it. But it's a good reminder for those of you who can, that you should not just relinquish all of your power that you have as a parent and just say, well, everyone has a phone. Sure, son, here's an iPhone. Don't do anything naughty on it. Every single time you give your kids a device and give them that public exposure to the outside world, you are asking to turn a young boy who has a well-adjusted, regular family, they have conservative beliefs, they don't preach this type of hatred at home. You are still giving a regular, impressionable boy access to this type of ideology anytime you give them access to any sort of these networks, okay? So I want to play Josh Hawley and Kash Patel talking about the possibility that this assassination could implicate a much broader network of people who may have been involved, or at least who knew that it was coming and stood by and did nothing about it when we're talking about this online community that Tyler Robinson was a part of.
Unfortunately, it has been leaked that there was a Discord chat, and for those unfamiliar with it, it's a gaming chat room online that the suspect participated in. So what we're doing, we've already done, is serve legal process, not just on Discord, so that the information we gathered is sustained and held in a evidentiary posture that we could use in prosecution should it be decided to do so. And we're also going to be investigating anyone and everyone involved in that Discord chat.
Okay, very good. I see the public reports that the Discord thread had as many as 20 additional users. It sounds like you're trying to run down all of that to see if that's accurate, who else may have been on that thread, what they may have known. Is that fair to say?
It's a lot more than that, and we're running them all down.
It's a lot more than 20?
Yes, sir.
And you're running all of that to ground?
Every single one.
Yeah, fantastic.
Great. We need to know. So run it down and get the information out and to us. This FBI keeps saying they are the most transparent FBI to ever grace God's green earth. Well, prove it. Let us see. As soon as you know. Now, there was also the, some questions about the fact that Kash Patel went out the day that it happened and said, we've got a subject, we've got a suspect, whatever the hell verbiage he used that then he tried to walk back from because he preemptively started posting on social media that they had the guy who did it. And then they had to walk it back and say, never mind, we let him go as the wrong guy. Well, that guy, there he is, being held on the ground. by police. He was detained. This is 71-year-old George Zinn. And he yelled that he was the shooter. When they took him into custody, he was yelling, shoot me, and then actually said, I just falsely confessed so that I could help whoever did it escape. I don't know. I'm not sure that should, to me, that's obstruction. But this dumbass decided to draw public attention to himself, knowing that he had sexual images of children on his phone. So he was also charged with 4 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor today. Congratulations, George. That's, I think we call that karma. So what I really want to talk about before we go to break here is the topic of hate speech. Because during the Obama administration and during the Biden regime, there was a lot of talk of hate speech. And there was a lot of defense of the First Amendment and freedom of speech. Okay? I mean, Charlie Kirk himself was killed practicing his right to speak freely. And it's just very humiliating that we can believe in a principle. We can say we do not believe in hate speech. There is no such thing as hate speech. Free speech means free speech, and the government cannot squander your ability to speak out, even if you are speaking ill of the government and criticizing the government, because of course that is the whole point of the First Amendment. And so tell me why, in the golden age of America, in the Trump 2.0 administration, you have the Attorney General of the United States of America. She heads up the entire Department of Justice. You would expect that a woman in a conservative administration, Pam Bondi, would understand that hate speech is not a thing. It's just made up and weaponized by the left to call out speech that they don't like. And so now, instead of that, you have Pam Bondi, who is trying to threaten people with prosecution over what she says is hate speech. You know what? Listen to her in her own words, okay?
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
So she said it in her own words, right? We will absolutely target anyone or go after anyone who is targeting anyone with hate speech. That's what she said. My friends, that is a problem. That is a problem. Free speech is free speech. You don't get to pick and choose, because guess what? If you decide that there is such a thing as hate speech, the next administration that is a tyrannical, crazy left-wing regime, such as the Biden administration, or Biden regime, as I like to call them, the next administration will come in and determine that whatever you say is also hate speech. There is no such thing as hate speech. Who gets to determine what is hate speech? It becomes completely subjective and up for debate if you are talking about things that are hateful. And in this country, unfortunately, you are allowed to be hateful. You are allowed to be an asshole. You are allowed to be those things. We don't get to criminalize that here in this country. Now, letting people around and find out when it comes to their jobs is much different, because remember, freedom of speech means your government cannot punish you for your opinions, for what you say. It doesn't mean that there are no consequences, especially when it comes to the private sector, that there are no consequences for your behavior and your speech and your actions. But Pam Bondi going up and telling us that they are going after people for hate speech is a humiliating thing to hear for those of us who have tried to champion free speech. Like, the top attorney of the entire country does not seem to understand the First Amendment. And that is very terrifying to me. And this is a woman who we already had many questions about. This is a woman who had seemingly was in favor of red flag laws when she was Attorney General of Florida. Big problem. This is a woman who told Fox News, had no problem going on Fox News, getting her full hair and makeup done to go on Fox News and tell them that the Epstein files were on her desk and that they would be released shortly thereafter. And then, it turns out there's no Epstein files. This is a woman who is a problem. And now we find out that she doesn't even know what free speech is. She doesn't even know what freedom of speech is. You might as well have a leftist in there. Hate speech is a term that is weaponized by the left. Why are conservatives using it? So she had to backtrack, Pam Bondi, okay? She had to backtrack because conservatives who are principled were willing to call her out on this. And so Pam Bondi tried to clarify on social media, too late in my opinion. No, I didn't actually mean hate speech. I just meant threats of violence. Well, babe, that's not what you said. Here's what she clarified on X. Hate speech that crosses the line into threats of violence is not protected by the First Amendment. It's a crime. For far too long, we've watched the radical left normalize threats, call for assassinations, and cheer on political violence. That era is over. You cannot call for someone's murder. You cannot swat a member of Congress. You cannot dox a conservative family and think it will be brushed off as free speech. That she says free speech protects ideas, debate, and even dissent, but it does not and will never protect violence. See, here is the thing, Pam. That's not what you said. That's not what you said. That's not at all what you said. And I wish that Charlie were still here to explain things like this to you, because this is what he was so good at. He was so good at explaining this topic. So I want to remind Pam Bondi what Charlie Kirk said about the topic of hate speech from May of just 2024, a little over a year ago. Hate speech does not exist legally in America. There's ugly speech. There's gross speech, there's evil speech, and all of it is protected by the First Amendment. Keep America free. Pam Bondi is a big problem, and I'm tired of people pretending that she's not. Pam Bondi is a very big problem because she wasn't done there. She went on Fox News, and the topic of, these Office Depot employees who didn't want to print posters for vigils and, private companies dealing with their own employees seems to be working pretty well, right? These private companies seem to be tampering down on all of this terrible rhetoric, making their own decisions, which is how it should be in the private market. But here's what Pam Bondi said about prosecuting free speech elsewhere, too.
Sure, we all believe in the First Amendment, and these people speak horrible things. I think yesterday or today, Sean, a school board member right here in Virginia had to resign because she said horrible things about Charlie Kirk and that he deserved to die. That's horrific. It's free speech, but you shouldn't be employed anywhere if you're going to say that. And employers, you have an obligation to get rid of people. You need to look at people who are saying horrible things, and they shouldn't be working with you. Businesses cannot discriminate. If you want to go in and print posters with Charlie's pictures on them for a vigil, you have to let them do that. We can prosecute you for that. I have Harmeet Dillon right now in our civil rights unit looking at that immediately, that Office Depot had done that. We're looking at that.
Yeah, I have a big problem with the Attorney General of the United States telling employers they have an obligation to fire people who espouse disgusting rhetoric. Because who determines what is disgusting rhetoric? You let the private business handle that. And if there is a true discrimination case, you're welcome to take that on, Pam. But you know what? Just like we said, you don't have to force the baker to bake the cake for the gay wedding. You don't want to go down the route of forcing employers to do things with which they don't agree. And here's the beauty of it. This is the United States of America. And if there is a mom and pop shop that doesn't want to print Charlie Kirk flyers, let the community know, and they will never do business with those people again. And those people will go out of business. And that's how it's all supposed to work. They're not supposed to think that they need to fire people because the government has said that they're going to come after them if they don't, because now you're hearing from the Attorney General that they have an obligation to fire people. That's a problem, Pam. So I would just encourage President Trump, who I know is very, very big on loyalty. Loyalty is a very big hot button for him. And I understand why, because he's had a lot of people who have stabbed him in the back, who have betrayed him, who have lied about him, who go to the New York Times to print anonymous op-eds about him. I get it. But Pam Bondi is a problem, sir. And she needs to be dealt with accordingly. And we need an attorney general who understands the Constitution, who understands our founding documents, who understands what time it is and what the agenda is, and who is willing to implement it rather than lean in to left-wing ideologies and rhetoric. Got to take a break. Make sure that you are subscribed to my YouTube channel, Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Hit the like button. It'll help us in the algorithm. And comment. Let me know. Am I being too harsh on old Pam? Because you'll notice she was back on Fox News again. She has all the time in the world for Fox News. Doesn't have time to brush up and read the Constitution. I find that to be a problem. All right. Let me thank our sponsor, Jase Medical. So I don't know if you realize this, September is actually National Preparedness Month. Yes, we have a month for national preparedness, which is a great reminder that it's always smart to be ready for whatever comes your way. Here's the deal. We learned back in COVID, well, some of us already knew, but there are a lot of people who learned the hard way back in COVID that having all of our medication, a lot of our medication have their supply chains in a different country, China, is probably not a great idea, because when something happens that you're unprepared for, like a pandemic and supply chain shut down, you potentially could be out of your life-saving medication. That is why Jase Medical is providing real-world solutions like the Jase case, where 10 emergency medications and prescription antibiotics are shipped to your door, directly to your door, so you're ready ahead of time. This is for emergency use only, so you hope that you don't need it, but if you need it, it's there. They've also got Jase Daily. They're going to give you up to a 12-month supply of your medications that you're taking daily. So if you've got something that you're already taking daily, they're going to give you a much bigger supply of that, just in case the supply chain is interrupted. We've learned you can't prepare for it when you're in the moment. Prepare for it ahead of time. They're running a huge sale right now to make emergency readiness more affordable. Now is the time. You can enter promo code Sarah at checkout for a discount on your order over at jase.com. That's jase.com, promo code Sarah. Now, as we talk about the topic of free speech and discern the difference between consequences of free speech and the fact that there is no such thing as hate speech, what's been very enlightening is being reminded once again that the left has a big problem. And their problem is that they seem to fetishize murder and violence, which is really, if you're going to pick a fetish, I'm going to say that's low on the list of things that you should be fetishizing. And J.D. Vance did a really great job of calling that out. They've created this culture that does this. He did a great job of calling that out when he was guest hosting the Charlie Kirk show yesterday. Here's a little bit of what he had to say.
She asked my wife how to tell her beautiful kids that their father and my dear, very dear friend is no longer with us. And as she was doing it, there were people dancing on that father's grave. Now, I have heard many calls in the last few days for unity and for healing in the wake of Charlie's assassination. You have no idea how desperately I want that, how gratified I was when Democratic friends and even former Senate colleagues reached out to offer their condolences to me. I'm so thankful. And I know there are so many like them all across our great country. I am desperate to wrap my arms around them as we all unite to condemn political violence and the ideas that cause it. You can, of course, find one person of a given political persuasion justifying this or that or almost anything, but the data is clear. People on the left are much likelier to defend and celebrate political violence. This is not a both sides problem. If both sides have a problem, one side has a much bigger and malignant problem, and that is the truth we must be told.
Where's the lie? I mean, you have the left with their media activist complex, and they keep turning violent offenders into victims, and the victims end up being footnotes. They've got TikTok stan culture for killers. They're out there, protesting, they're protecting criminal aliens from deportations. They're protesting gang members being sent out of this country. They've got their version of compassion, which gets weaponized against justice. They don't believe in real justice. They believe in social justice. That's what they want. The left wants social justice. What is social justice? Well, just let them tell you their agenda. They have to cram it in to fit it. And so you start to wonder, why do the loudest voices defend the indefensible? Why are there so many people cheering on Charlie Kirk being murdered? Why have they become so obsessed with all of these heinous acts? I mean, they are idolizing. I posted a tweet the other day that blew up, and I know the left was like trying to slam me over it. I didn't care whatsoever because they are a godless people. But I said, if your church doesn't mention Charlie today, this was Sunday, if your church doesn't mention Charlie today, find a new church. It's just my opinion. It's just my opinion. I think what's gotten us into this mess is that too many pastors are too cowardly to bring up real world events that are happening and actually help bring a message of the gospel to their congregation. And they tried to say, oh, you're idolizing him. Oh, you're idolizing him. Oh, what about idolatry? I'm not idolizing Charlie Kirk. I'm not idolizing him. But do you know who is idolizing and committing idolatry? Is the left. And I want to give you some examples of that. How about Luigi Mangione? I couldn't believe what I was seeing just today with this guy. Remember, this is the guy who was suspected. I know I have to keep telling you suspected. This is the alleged killer, who is just that he's on tape doing it. Killer of the CEO of United Healthcare. This was another assassination style attack in New York City. He was arrested with a bunch of evidence on him. He had a 3D printed gun, a 3D printed suppressor, and fake driver's license from New Jersey with the same name of the suspect who checked into a New York hostel. They had shell casings found at the crime that matched the gun that was found on him. Oh, by the way, they also found a manifesto where he appeared to confess to the crime. Now, he has not been convicted in a true court of law, but I just gave you all of the evidence, okay? So you've got all of that evidence. And despite all of the evidence, the left is rallying around this guy. A guy who, he allegedly did it. He did it. And they want to champion this guy. They want to spew conspiracy theories that the evidence was planted. He's being framed. Right. I'm sure the police have nothing better to do than frame a 26-year-old. And they want to push him into this. They're painting him into this big celebrity. He's a rock star now. Luigi Mangione, assassin of a man who had a family, is a rock star. He's a celebrity. You had today, literally just today, there were celebrations in the streets from his supporters because they had domestic terrorism charges that were dropped. Still responsible for murder, but look at this. They're hugging and they're hugging because they dropped terrorism charges. These people are giddy. They're beside themselves. They're wearing Luigi hats from Super Mario Brothers to show their support of an assassin. They want him freed. They've been putting up billboards across the country. Free Luigi. For what? This is Saint Luigi to them. This is how they feel about assassins and murderers. Do we want to keep ignoring that this is a culture problem? You had teenage girls camping out outside the courtroom hoping to see him. He is a rock star to them. Which, by the way, I would call bad parenting. You've got an online crowdfunding site, raised over $1 million for his defense fund. This guy assassinated someone in cold blood And these people have painted him into a celebrity. You have some sicko who's created a musical around his story, painting him as a hero. I don't care who this guy, what company this guy was the CEO of. You can't just go around killing people to prove some sick socialist point. But this has been going on for a while. This has been going on for a very long time by the left. It's gotten amplified, but let's not forget about the Menendez brothers. The California Parole Board, of course, rightfully, just recently kept them locked up where they belong, but these were two brothers who plotted to murder their parents in cold blood. Their parents were shot multiple times at close range with a shotgun in 1989. These brothers plotted it. They've been locked up since the 90s. They've had a chance at freedom that was later squashed. But I want to play their reaction, the left's reaction, when these guys' parole was denied. Look at this. They're so upset. They can't believe it. They cry foul. Whoever denied their parole, I hate you. They were celebrating the fact that these people might go free. I'm wondering, where did all this compassion from cold-blooded killer brothers come from? Well, remember, they were sensationalized in the Netflix series. They were victims in the Netflix series. Do you remember the Netflix series, Stephen?
I do.
We tried to watch it, and it was too gay.
Yes, it was.
It was very, I mean that sincerely. It was very gay. But also, it was like, oh, these poor babies. They said, well, their father sexually assaulted him, so they just had to murder him. Guys, I think that we skipped some steps, like steps B through Y. I think we skipped here. I don't think that that's the only answer. By the way, that's just an accusation. This guy can't defend himself anymore, right? So then you've got, let's go to the topic of illegal immigrants, illegal aliens. All right. I mentioned it at the beginning. These people are besides themselves trying to keep criminals in the country. They say it's inhumane when ICE is trying to deport criminals. And I don't just mean the criminals that I want every single illegal alien removed from this country. But I'm not even talking about them. I'm talking about the really bad guys, the people who have committed more crimes after they committed the crime of staying in this country. The left goes to the streets, abolish ICE, and then they try to dox innocent agents just out there trying to do their jobs, trying to get illegal criminals out of this country, keep this country safe. They are rounding up people convicted of murder. Here's some of the greatest hits, okay? Convicted murderers, registered sex offenders who continually abused a child, murder, rape, sexual battery of a child. The list goes on. I could name much more. That is who the left has compassion for. Charlie Kirk, exercising his right to speak his opinions. No, you must be murdered. A CEO of a health insurance company. No, must be murdered. Laken Riley, no compassion for her. Illegal criminals, gang members, yes. There is a huge culture problem on the left when it comes to all of these killers. I mean, they are being fetishized by the left. If your so-called justice makes the killer in the story the hero and the law the villain, that's not justice. That is social decay. And no one should pretend otherwise anymore. All right, we've got to take another quick break. We will be back with more. But I want to thank our sponsor, this segment, Relief Factor. So Relief Factor is there for those of you who maybe you live in constant pain and you just think that that's your life now. Doesn't have to be. Try Relief Factor's 3-week QuickStart. I do this thing where my brain is like working faster than my mouth and I trip over my words. I had a Celsius. I had an energy drink earlier too. I shouldn't say the name because they haven't sponsored Sara Gonzales Unfiltered yet. Anyway, you know who has? Relief Factor. And so Relief Factor is there for those of you who you live in pain. You think that that's your life now. Go get there through QuickStart. 70% of the people who order that, it's a very, very potent anti-inflammatory. So it's going to actually get rid of your pain at the root cause. 70% of the people who order that you see on your screen right now, go on to keep ordering more. It's working for that many people. It can work for you as well. And that could be life-changing for you. Go get it at relieffactor.com. That is relieffactor.com. All right, welcome to the show, Eric July, Blaze TV contributor and founder of Ripaverse, which I would highly encourage all of you to go check out if you appreciate a good comic. There are no gays.
No.
In Ripaverse.
No, we don't have those
No
books.
Trans.
No, we don't have any of that either. So
No DEI hires.
no, can't afford to do that.
Ripaverse.com. Make sure that you go check it out. So, Eric, did you see any of the Kash Patel testimony today?
Yes, I did watch quite a bit of it before we got on the show today.
I want to play a couple of these clips here, but I want to get your initial thoughts briefly on how you feel, like what grade would you give Kash Patel today?
Today, I mean, look, my feelings aside from the FBI, maybe today he gets an A, and I'll explain why. Mainly, he went into this trying to be, let's say, a little more conservative in the sense that he was being very polite. And you could see as more time started to progress, he himself started to get more annoyed.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have some of the most evil, productive in the wrong sense, unproductive as far as leading America and helping the people. People sit here and lecture him. And you could see that frustration starting to wear on him. And it's like something kicked in where he realized, wait a minute, I'm being lectured by you people of all folks. And you saw he started to kick it up. But even in doing so, and that's also a very difficult thing as a person that gets out there and does all the public speaking that I do. It's one thing to be angry and aggravated, and you can tend to slip up, right? That emotion starts to show. But what was interesting about how he did it, it made him a little more precise with what he was saying. He was very direct. And you can see, especially when he's talking to Schiff, right? He's like very, very, very direct. So it wasn't like he was losing his cool, though you did see that like switch go off, like, wait a minute, I'm not standing for this. But it didn't seem like he had like completely lost it, like it was an emotional outburst. It didn't come off as that at all. So damn how I feel about the FBI, just on that part alone, I'll give Patel an A.
I agree. And I thought that it was very refreshing to see him finally he got to the point where he was just over it. Yeah. And so, he did walk a fine line of like being Kash Patel, FBI director, and not Kash Patel, author of Government Gangsters. Right. He has talked about all of these deep state, disgusting people. But Eric mentions the exchange with Adam Schiff. We've got some of that. Let's play Kash Patel engaging in this back and forth. Just tensions are escalating here with Adam Schiff about Ghislaine Maxwell and the Epstein files.
You want the American people to believe that? Do you think they're stupid?
No, I think the American people believe the truth, that I'm not in the weeds on the everyday movements of
you're
inmates.
not in the weeds?
What I am doing is protecting this country, providing historic reform, and combating the weaponization of intelligence by the likes of you. And we have countlessly proven you to be a liar in Russiagate, in January 6th. You are the biggest fraud to ever sit in the United States Senate. You're a disgrace to this institution and an utter coward.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised that you continue to lie from your perch and put on a show so you can go raise money for your charade. You are a political buffoon at best.
The only thing he missed was calling him pencil neck, but I kept waiting for it. I was like, okay, when does the pencil neck comment come? But I mean, truly, it has to be so enraging to sit there and have your credibility and your character questioned by a man who, for literal years of his life, used the fact that he was on a committee, a House committee, on foreign intelligence, and tried to pretend that he had inside information that President Trump was a Russian government stooge. Right. All the while, it was not true. And he just tried to use the fact that he was on that committee as some sort of a proof. Oh, when you guys see what I saw, you're going to know. When you finally get the evidence that I've seen, you're going to know that Donald Trump is working with Vladimir Putin. It just was never true. It was all a lie. I can't believe he's allowed to still sit up there and do this, knowing that he said what intentionally lied to the American people for the number of years that he did. He's probably still saying it to this day. Yeah. And the fact that you've got that guy questioning the credibility of Kash Patel, I would imagine is like an intense course in how to handle gaslighting for Kash.
Well, yeah, like I said, it kicked in. You could see when it kicked in. It was like, wait a minute, dude. Look who you are.
Right.
You're the fraud here.
Right.
And you're lecturing me like I'm the one that is the problem. But, if we pull up the receipts and we see what you've advocated, all the things that you have stated with regards to, like, again, with Russiagate and everything in between, you are the crook here. In fact, the role should be reversed here. I should be the one lecturing you. Yeah. And it is an interesting thing that he is able to sit up there, but it shows how evil some of these people are. Right. They act as if that never happened. The fact that he is cocky enough to try to use that more so as a weapon to attack an opponent, when if anything, that whole charade did prove that you are one of the most, let's say you're not the most credible person in Congress, not the most credible person standing in government, but here you are trying to present it as if this other person isn't. You're the last person. There's a bunch of other folks that are in that chamber that probably are far more qualified to try to lecture someone with regards to their credibility, especially when it comes, because what Schiff was trying to allude to, or rather he was really explicitly stating, is as if Kash is trying to swindle the American people. Right. When that's literally what you did, Adam Schiff. Right. You did that. Right. You attempted to swindle the American. We didn't believe you, but it didn't stop you from the attempt. And now you're trying to, I guess, essentially place the ball in someone else's court. Yeah. And he's picking up on that like you're the last person that gets to do that.
Yeah. I would be a fan of trying to revisit whether or not these hearings are helpful, because it does seem like it's just turned into this, circus where the left, well, I'll say this, to be fair, which they don't deserve. It's whoever it is that's in power, whichever administration it is, the opposing party will use that as their time to get their gotcha moments in, to clip it up, to try to, ask these ridiculous questions that don't deserve answers. And it just seems to be a waste of the taxpayers' time. So I wish that we could find a different way. Like, I don't know if they submit their questions in writing, and so they can do like a question and answer in writing before they resort to something like this. But they just try to grandstand rather than get to the truth of the matter. And I'm just so sick of seeing it. And so I want to play one more here. This is, there are a lot of stupid people in Congress. None may, well, I don't know. I'm going to play the clip. And then, Eric, I want you to tell me if this might be the dumbest, which, again, I know is a really low bar, but let's go ahead and watch this exchange about the FBI requiring applicants to pass physical fitness exams. Watch.
You are now requiring
good old Maisie
applicants to be able to do a certain kind of pull-ups, which a lot of women cannot because of physiological differences.
What?
Are you requiring...
Wait.
Did she just say that?
There are biological differences?
We are requiring a physical program at BFTC at Quantico because FBI agents carrying guns in the field have to chase down bad guys and do really hard work. The physical fitness standards of those agents
are you requiring these kinds of pull-ups?
We are requiring everybody to pass the 1811 standards at BFTC. If you want to chase down a bad guy and put him in handcuffs, you better be able to do a pull-up.
The reason you ask is because you're retarded. That's the reason you ask, Maisie Hirono. That's the only reason that there is to ask that question. If a woman cannot perform the pull-up that's required, a woman should not do the job. Yeah. Period. And I'm like, why the hell are we wasting taxpayer money for Kash Patel to waste his time sitting up there and answering what kind of pull-ups they require for the FBI physical fitness test. It's a joke.
It is a joke, but it also, that exchange right there shows the entire joke that is both affirmative action and DEI, right? And these concepts that you should be bringing people on just because they fit a particular gender or makeup or whatever it is, as opposed to the merit of it all. And he brings up a fantastic point. Again, you're going to be running around. It does require some sort of athleticism. And sure, in said athletic, test that we have you performing, yeah, the guys just biologically are going to be the ones that are naturally able to do them over the gals. That's just a biological reality, which she actually acknowledged there at the beginning.
Accident.
She didn't do it on purpose at all.
Hirono accidentally outed herself.
She did not do that on purpose. I don't think she actually knew what she was saying, right, at all. But yes, there are biological differences between myself and you, Sarah, if you didn't know, right? And sure, the guys have the advantage, but just think about that. She's saying that as if there's something incorrect with it, not because, well, you're getting the best people for the job or the best people for the gig. She's trying to allude to the idea that, well, wait a minute, the women's are being sort of excluded from this position, and therefore there's something wrong. This is a retarded way to run not only your government, but to run your businesses, run anything. Where you're like, bro, this is what I need you to perform. I need you to physically be able to perform this. If you cannot, you can't get the gig. If it means that the makeup of this alphabet agency is 100% dudes on the field, so what? So what? Those are the people that are best suited to perform. But folks like her have convinced a lot of people. And this is the problem. We've seen this impact businesses. A lot of people that there is something inherently wrong with something just because of like the demographical makeup of said thing. Right. And therefore, that's proof of racism. Therefore, that's proof of sexism or whatever. That's BS.
Yeah. I would just say, Eric, you need to give her a pass because she is a diversity hire also, because she is proof that we still can hire retarded people in Congress. We got to take a break. We'll be right back. We have like 45 seconds here, Eric, but I do want to know, is she the dumbest one?
Oh, man, she's up there, but there's so many stupid people in them. And when you look at like the AOCs of the world and many Elizabeth Warren, I mean, you can go top to bottom. I mean, it is some
Rashida Tlaib.
Retarded people. Some, unfortunately, out of Dallas as well. Well, they pretend to be stupid. That's the deal, which is just
and pretend to be from Dallas, too.
Yes, they also pretend to be from Dallas when they're not from Dallas at all. But yeah, there's no shortage of retarded people in Congress.
Point is, it's a low bar. But we appreciate all of the entries anyway. Thank you, Eric.